We could all use a vacation sometimes. A nice relaxing getaway by the beach with the salty breeze of the sea in your hair and the sand between your toes sounds nice, doesn't it? Our drivers probably wish they could feel all those things here at beautiful Zandvoort, but because it's both the virtual world and race day, they've got other things on their minds. Our championship has livened up as the score is now 2-3 between Perez and Eisler on wins. Can the two-time champion bring it to a tie today? We'll find out as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, though the old schoolers might mourn the loss of the faster version that F1 used to race on here, this place is still an incredible challenge. Tell us about Zandvoort.
Well, yes, indeed. This place is absolutely incredible. Opened back in 1948 after the World War II, this track has been through many configurations. The original home of the Dutch Grand Prix back in 1952 to 1985. The concurrent configuration that we're running today was opened in 1995. And the current series that run here is the Blancpain GT series. A couple of key points that we're going to be keeping in mind in today's race is going to be rhythm. Zandvoort has many up and downhill cornering, so these drivers are going to make sure that the car is stable enough to keep on the rhythm to keep that momentum. Also, drivers are going to be keeping an eye on excellent passing opportunities through the Ernst S's. Also, being able to avoid contact, as that is also going to be a problematic corner for some of these drivers. Drivers are also going to be able to keep an eye on gaining as much speed and momentum through Kumo Corner and Lyondek Corner. So to give us a closer look at tonight's race, we're going to go on for a lap guide with the Global Sim Racing Lap Guide.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yammer to the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Zandvoort. Coming up to the braking for Tarzan is honestly going to be your best place to overtake on the whole circuit. And despite the heavy banking on this hairpin, the inside line is still going to be the best place to put your car for defense or attack. If you somehow come out side by side, it's going to get tricky in a hurry. Gerlach is almost always single file with its narrow blind crest. But immediately, you're into Hugenholz, which is another hairpin with plenty of camber. The key here will be setting up your exit, because despite the track weaving back and forth, it's flat out all the way through Slotemacher and into Schieflach. This long right-hander has a pretty difficult entry with a combination of a kink and a rise in the track. It makes for a blind, curved braking zone, and as you can see, it's not slow around this sweeper either, so hold on to your butts. After that, it's a short burst to Marlboro, which requires a precise flick to really carry your speed. Then, you're into a much more technical section of the track, starting with Renault. The circuit will basically switch back and forth with a couple slow, frustrating corners. Get the car off to the right, and you'll trudge your way around another hairpin with Vodafone. Watch your traction coming out of here, because you'll definitely need some good speed. That's because the car finally gets to stretch its legs out, so let it drift over to the left and try to spot your brake marker for the Audi S. These corners are reminiscent of the first few turns at Montreal. It involves a fair amount of braking, so you can sometimes make a pass, but it's difficult to force a too-wide situation, and it rarely happens without some form of contact between cars. From there, you're now reaching the end of the lap. Kumho is very lenient with the track limits, so don't be afraid to take a lot of curb at the apex. Finally, you've hit the most important turn of the circuit, Lyondijk. It requires a small lift, but the sooner you get to the power, the better you'll be able to attack or defend. And as we come to the line, you've now finished a lap around Zandvoort.
iRacing. UHJ Motorsports is following in the 3rd position, with the Quebec Power Racing team moving up into the 4th position, and then followed with 2 teams actually tied for the 5th position. So it's going to be a really tight battle as it just gets closer and closer to the end of this season. But Team Bushvink is definitely going to be one on the tear, as momentum is on their side after winning at Phillip Island.
Also, one quick mention before we jump over to the race details. This race is sponsored by Apex Button Box. If you're interested in any of their products, we have a link in the description to their Facebook. It is /Apex Button Box to find their Facebook page there. And boy, I would love to have an Apex Button Box. Don't know if they're looking for any sort of commentator sponsorships to deal with, but just hit me up if you want, guys. Anyways, let's go over to the race details and talk about what we have in store for us today. We are in round 6. We are now past halfway in this season. The 3 cars that we're going to be dealing with, the Porsche 911, the Ferrari 488, and the Ford GT, are all GTE class cars, essentially. These are the ones that you see racing at Le Mans. The race distance today at 45 minutes means we will see at least one stop, and that is because what you see there below, they have restricted the fuel a little bit, so the cars can't make their normal race distance. But the setup is open, and that means that the drivers can all tweak each of the 3 cars, to exactly how they want them. Everything you can do in real life to these cars, you can do here in the simulation. They have an incident cap of 30. If they run into other cars, the wall, if they spin or have an off track, those rack up. Those create an incident point. And if you get 30 of them, you are DQ'd on the spot. On top of that, Taylor, there are no fast repairs today that the drivers can rely on if they get any damage. And we talked about how this track has been around a long time. You mentioned that it's been around since just after World War II. It has really retained that old school feel, because look at how close these barriers are pretty much around the whole circuit. I have a feeling we're going to see some damage throughout.
Oh, most definitely. There's going to be a lot of contact. There's going to be a lot of drivers maybe making those mishaps in the back of the field where they will need to wish they had a fast repair. But it's going to be a fun race to watch. Really looking forward to seeing how these drivers handle these higher speed corners and how well these cars handle, especially with 3 different cars, 3 different powers, and it's going to be an awesome race. Looking forward to watching it.
Looking through the qualifying, Eisler, interestingly, is leading the way, and by 0.2 over Perez. Now, this is an open qualifying, so they can put as many laps as they can in during this 15 minutes. So there's still time for Perez to get one in, although I just saw him have an off on this lap, so it won't count. But with 7 minutes to go, I think the onus is on Perez now. We saw him take a win last time, but I'm sure Eisler wants to swing back at him.
Oh, yes. Eisler is definitely a little probably upset after last week at Phillip Island finishing 3rd. He really wants to get that win, I think, to keep that keep his point standings lead strong, as well as maybe help get his team back on the top of the team's championship. So Eisler is definitely going to be a man on the mission tonight.
And right as we were talking about it, Clank has overtaken Perez to that 2nd spot there on the front row. He comes back out as he has abandoned the lap following his last fastest one. Driver, I'm kind of watching to see if he's going to come back out, but I guess he's happy with how things are. Daniel Pinto sits in 4th. Boy, Taylor, he came out swinging the first few races. We thought surely he's going to get a win, but it seems like he slipped back a little bit.
Yes, it has been having an up and down season right now, but I think tonight might be the chance where we see Pinto shine. I was watching him earlier in practice, and he was really putting on a strong performance, running very consistent lap times, so he's definitely got something up his sleeve tonight.
He was trying to crawl out to find an open spot, and so was Barry. You can see very thick and fast out there with a lot of cars. Barry's going to overtake him anyways. In fact, Pinto looks like he might give up on starting the lap here. Here we see Tononi, a newcomer to the series as far as we're aware. We haven't seen him yet this season, but Juan has put his car into 7th, so obviously one to watch out for. Top 10, not easy to come by in this series, Taylor.
No, it's not. So if you can put your car starting inside the top 10, that's making a statement saying that he is here to race. He is here not to mess around. So Tanani will definitely be a rookie to keep an eye on tonight.
In fact, we have another new driver, Facundo Britos, being the other one. And actually, where is he currently?
Currently
out
P6.
There? Oh, wow. So 2 fast guys coming in.
Yeah, the 2 rookies starting going to be side by side as we're going to be taking the green flag here in a few moments. So it's going to be an interesting race.
Let's see if Tonodi can go any faster on this lap. Coming around Lyondike corner, the Indy 500 winner. Onto the main straight, as we said, sitting in 7th, a 133.5, and as he crosses the line, looks like no, that one's not going to count as he had an off somewhere. Ritos as well going to complete his lap soon. He brakes for Kumho, and then up to Lyondike. See what kind of run he can get down to the line, just ahead of Tononi at a 33.5, and that one not going to count. In fact, he's going to have a big moment into the wall in qualifying. Thankfully, they have infinite cars here in qualifying, so he can bring that one back out. And speaking of Lyondike corner here, Taylor, you and I were talking about it. You were saying it sounds like it's very marginal.
It is very marginal. You have to make sure you be very careful on the throttle. Yes, you can go not having to use the brake, but just that little bit too much turning in can cause you either to wash up the track or even dive into it where you hit that curb and either spin you out or just push you up to where it hits the wall. So it's going to be a very tricky corner to watch. I've been watching some of the drivers having a little bit of difficulty handling that corner, and then there's some who are just masterfully get that excellent run down the Tunnel West straight.
Tononi abandoning that lap, unfortunately. So we take a look at Landini coming around the Audi S. He's following in line of Justin Hall, who's going to kindly pull over not to mess up the end of his qualifying lap. 34 flat and 8th for that 444 around the final corner and up to the line. This one a lot cleaner than we've seen from some of the others. Let's see if he can improve on that. And he does, but stays in 8th.
Another driver I want to keep an eye on tonight is the 816 Ford of Aaron Thacker. Last week at Phillip Island, he had a very commendable run. Just kept it smooth, gained as much position, and really put on an excellent drive. So I think momentum's on his side with that good run. He's going to probably hopefully work his way up towards the front tonight.
Wasn't without its mistakes, though. He ran into the car of Overbay at the end of the race, unfortunately, and cost him a couple positions in the process. Could have been looking at a top 5 or even potentially a podium. So definitely has some things to work on. I'm sure he's thought carefully about those and examined his race. Perez last lap did not count. So I've been keeping an eye on them because he's still trying to battle with Clank and Eisler to get onto that front row, and he's yet to be able to do it, which is fascinating. It seems like the Iceman and Clank is they've got one over him so far today.
Yeah, they do. It seems like they got that car dialed in correctly, so they're going to be definitely giving Perez a run for his money tonight. As it looks like Tanani is coming across the line. No time at all again for him, so he must be messing up some part of the circuit. I'm going to try to follow him.
Drivers are just about on their last lap here. They're running a little over a minute 30 around here, and you can see Perez should be able to get one more try after he crosses the line. Down through the Audi S. Boy, a frustrating corner from my experience through there. And then Kumho, which feels oh so good when you get it right, just launching it off the banking, down through the sweeping Lyondike, onto the main straight. Last one may not have counted. Let's see if Perez kept it clean this time by 33.1, still missing time, but that one was clean. This is his last go. And unfortunately, he is not going to get that last lap. So Maciera sitting in 5th. He should be able to get one more lap in. Oh, and just not quite there for Maciera. Keeping an eye on the clock. We're starting to run out of time. I think Tononi might get one more lap.
Nope.
No, he won't, because he just wrecked into the wall. We'll go to Lobato instead. This is Lobato's last run. The Iberian driver, currently sitting in 23rd, is going to abandon it. So we switch back to Pittenger now. And Pittenger, nobody's going to get their last lap in here, Taylor.
Everyone seems to be having a little bit of problem here and there, or just not even going to finish the lap. I guess time is running out for him. Looks like Landini's coming off.
Yeah, we were watching our pole sitter, but Landini sitting in 8th. We haven't seen him improve a position yet. We saw him improve his time earlier. 33.9 was the last one. 33.7 still doesn't take him up a spot. That has got to be frustrating. Eisler finishes his last lap, does not improve. 2 cars left out on track. And that is Matthew Fraley and Pete Mabroten. Fraley has not even put a time in yet.
Yeah, Mabroten can't abandon his qualifying run, but here comes Fraley as he comes out of Lyondike. Let's see if he can be able to set down a decent time.
1 lap time is all he needs to get himself up at least 1 spot. And he does multiple as he goes to 24th on the grid. Still going to be a little bit down the order, but I'm sure he'll take that. That will finish up qualifying for us. So while we have the opportunity, why don't we run you through the grid? Starting on our pole, Christian Eisler had to have an answer for Perez, and it looks like he does, at least in 1 lap speed. He is going to be starting on the pole with a 132.7. Alexander Clank will flank him. Alex still looking for that first win, but his first 3 races have all been on the podium. It's a good sign for him. Ben Perez, 3 points behind Eisler in the championship now. What can he do from 3rd at a track that is difficult to pass at? Daniel Pinto also looking for that first win, has come so close early in the season, needs to rebound and correct a few mistakes, starts 4th. Sebastian Maciera will round out our top 5. Newcomer Facundo Britos will start in 6th. He'll be flanked by Juan Pablo Tononi in 7th. Juan Manuel Landini starts in 8th. Aaron Thacker, he qualified 12th last race. Well, he's starting a little bit better this time. Maybe that'll help him have less trouble. He'll start in 9th. Cameron Berry rounds out our top 10.
Starting in the 11th position will be Michael Overbay, followed by Thomas Ellison in the 12th position. In 13th will be Cristobal Valenzuela, followed by Mark Feil in the 14th position. Justin Hall will come in the 15th position, followed by Takashi Kita in 16th. Eric Luke will be in the 17th position. He'll be starting side by side with Richie Pittenger in the 18th position. Pete Mabroten will start in the 19th position, followed by Lucio Vargas in 20th. Danny Duchesne will start in 21st, followed by Sean Kenning in 22nd. Moises Lobato will be starting in the 23rd position, followed by Matthew Fraley in 24th. And 25th is Tyler Galward, followed by Victor O'Brien in 26th, Gary Schilling in 27th, and Hugo Galaz 28th. And starting shotgun in the 29th position will be Andrew Fawcett.
Andrew did not get a lap time in, but he did grid up, so I do believe we are going to get a full field of 29 out there today as we watch the cars hit the grid, being led by that roof pace car for 1 full pace lap. It is a rolling start in this series. One thing I'm curious about too, since there isn't an expected pit stop, is the tires here. Now, even though we don't expect people to change, one thing I'm curious about, Taylor, is there's 2 very, very fast, long right-handers. Did you notice that that really affects the car over the run, or is that a non-worry?
I don't see it as a non-worry. The car was pretty stable after a couple of runs that I made earlier in the practice sessions. So I think these guys might actually not even have to worry about tires. It's just going to be a fuel-only stop. As we also learned from last week at Phillip Island, some of these guys didn't even take any tires at all, didn't even think about it, just kept on going, got a splash and dash, and hit the track. So this shouldn't be a problem for tires for these guys. I think it's just going to be mostly focused on when to come in to get that fuel.
As we watch them take off down the front stretch to one of the most common places to pass here into Tarzan. Speaking of passing, I'm looking down the field at some of our drivers who we've seen tend to make up progress throughout the race. Takeshi Kita, sitting there in 16th, seems to have this MO of maybe not qualifying nearly as well, but steadily working his way through. But in recent races, Takeshi's kind of run into trouble partway through. I mean, what do you think about this one? Is this going to be a lot harder prospect for him to pull the same trick and work his way up the field?
Only time will really tell with Kita. I mean, Kita is a very smart driver with knowing when to put the car, but like you said, also runs into trouble. This track is going to be a definite place to where trouble will brew during the race. So maybe if Kita is able to avoid those issues, he might come home with a very good finish. But we have 45 minutes. We have 29 drivers. Anything can happen.
If I remember correctly, Cameron Barry had a podium at the last round as well. No, he finished 4th, excuse me. But he had to come back to it and did a very good job working his way through. Barry starting much farther down in 10th. Still at least in the upper third of the field, but it's going to be hard running for that number 23 as well. Here is that long banked corner of Shivlak, one of the original corners of this track that they are swinging around. And then this is where they come to what is essentially, I guess you could call it an infield section here with Marlboro Taylor. I always had a hard time finding the apex on this right-hander. It just feels like such a fast flick.
It is. It's a very fast flick of the corners that you have to deal with. 2 of them almost. You have to find the apex for both of them. Can be very difficult. This corner almost kind of reminds me of a little bit of a corner in Road Atlanta where you have that little chute before you get to the next corner. So timing is going to be definitely a key point for these drivers to make that opportunity to pass. So as they now are making their way into the next corner.
Through Renault and Vodafone, you get a good sense of just how much the nature of this track has changed if you have seen any of the footage or the maps of the old circuit with its long, fast straights, only split up by a couple of chicanes later in its life before it was altered to be like this. Now down into the Audi S. You were talking about this being a possible place to pass, but also a place for worry. One thing that I was scared of around here, Taylor, was just if a car tries to make a pass, or if I'm trying to make a pass, us clattering together on that first right-hander there.
Yeah, that first right-hander is going to be a problem corner for some drivers to make a pass, and it's very difficult to know when to hit that proper braking point in order to make that pass. I usually would consider braking right as soon as you start seeing that curbing of the red and white curbing, to where you start braking a little bit early maybe, to where you get that good run off and come out of Audi S's. So it's going to be fun to watch some of these drivers. Probably a little argy-bargy, probably a little bit of contact will be happening tonight. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye in that section of the track.
Roof pace car coming around Lion Dyke. And as the pace car peels off, watch that pit entry. It has a nasty little chicane. Drivers will need to have practiced that to maximize how much they get out of their pit stops. It's going to be Christian Eisler who has control to the flag here, as that roof is now in the lane, and the green immediately comes out. No wait at all. Christian, not the best of jumps, but he is leaving Clank behind. Perez pulling up alongside him. Oh, nearly gets into the back of his rival. Somehow keeps out of him. The rest of the field behind them has a little bit of action. As I was looking
got more problems. Duchesne, Eric Luke.
Later, big development. Perez has been handed the lead on a silver platter. Pinto, the one chasing him now in second. Britos, his first race in the series, sits in a podium position, and Maciera is promoted to 4th.
Wow. That was a very interesting start. Joe, I know you were telling me earlier that people thought this may be a boring race or something like that, but definitely this is not going to be a boring race at all tonight.
If it's anything to go by with that start, I certainly don't think so. Yeah, and on GSRC, we usually have pretty exciting ones. And as they come around, I don't think we've got any major passes up at the front. So why don't we take a look at that replay between Eisler and Clank? It was coming into Gerlach. Going to try and pull up this replay here. Somehow, Clank had managed to get side by side, and that's really what set up the tangle. Here we go, pulling that replay up now. Coming down to the first corner, that's Eisler. There in the black and white machine, it's Clank in the blue and yellow. Clank must have gotten a great run around the outside. Indeed, he did. That's what got him up alongside it. And just pinched him a little bit too much down to that curbing. And unfortunately, both of them went off.
Yeah, it's not a lot of room to make a pass like that, so Clank really stuck his nose in there, and it looks like that Eisler just thought he was clear to where he could throw a block, but no, he was not clear.
You can see Clank continuing on a little bit better. He is in 6th right now, and in fact, he's working on Landini for that top 5 spot. Looks for the over-under through Vodafone. One of his teammates behind him, Thomas Ellison, has no answer. Down to the Audi S, a great exit from Clank, but doesn't try to outbrake Landini. He's going to sit back for now.
Looking at Eisler's car right now, and it looks like he's got some damage, so this is going to definitely affect his car's handling a whole lot more, especially through those high-speed sections. I notice he's got some wing damage and a little bit of nose damage, so aerodynamics are definitely going to be affected for him tonight.
Oh, Justin Hall had a moment. He's currently down in 21st as he recovers. This was in the Audi S, and I think he got some help. We're going to go to the replay. Now, it looks like he was slowing up because Michael Overbay overshot the corner a little bit. And then, unfortunately, it looks like Pete Mabroten got into the back of Hall.
Yep, there it is. There he goes around. Justin Hall's just having a difficult night already.
Coming back live. He's continuing on as we watch him circle around in 20th place. Let's go back to that battle for 5th between Clank and Landini, because it's almost got a train of cars now. At the front of it is Britos sitting in 4th now. Maciera has passed him since we last looked. It's almost stacking up behind him, it looks like.
Yeah, it's bringing in Ellison, the rookie Tanani, and here comes Eisler as he's going to make a look underneath. So Eisler is driving like a madman almost, in a sense, trying to get back up towards the front. So Eisler, a man on a mission tonight, wanting to get back up to the top spot.
Remember, he returned in 10th place, so he's made up 1 position here and 9th now. If he could just make something of this train, but the difficulties of passing here are making themselves apparent. As we ride on board with the Iceman, looking up, you can see those 2 blue and yellow HJ Motorsports cars close together. That's Ellison having a look on Clank, who's no longer on the attack. Now he's on the defense. Oh, and that car off. That was, who was that? That was Tononi.
Yep, Tononi having a little bit of an off. Looks like he didn't get a good, decent run out of Lyondike. So that's what's going to happen. If you don't have that good run, you're going to lose that momentum down the Tunnel West straight.
2 ringy-dingies for Eisler, now up into 8th position. Ellison on his list next. Clank has managed to pull away from his teammate. As we look back from Ellison towards the Iceman. Might want to jump up to Alexander because currently he's on the attack of Landini once again. Landini also trying to pressurize Britos for that 4th position. They come through Marlboro. A little bit off the apex from Landini. Is this going to be an opportunity for Clank? He's going to take it, sends it in deep down into Renault, but it switches back in favor through Vodafone. Clank's going to have to work hard for it. Landini not giving it up, gets shoved off the track just a little bit as they make contact.
Here's that opportunity for the Audi S's. Let's see if Clank can... No, it's going to be Ellison who's going to take a look. Eisler also going to take a look. So just that back up where you think you might have enough room to make the pass. You got to worry about what's behind you. Otherwise, you're going to get passed from someone else.
And a bad exit out of the Audi S meant that Landini did lose it to Clank, set himself up perfectly. He braked early, but it looked like he knew what he was doing. Now his teammate Ellison is set up to try and make the passes. He's in the slipstream. Down to the inside. Landini defends, not completely to the wall. Late on the brakes goes Ellison, but can't carry it into the banking of Tarzan.
I like what Landini was doing, not trying to throw a complete lock on him, but just giving him enough room to where Ellison could not make that pass. So that was a really smart driving by Landini.
And all this excitement, you have to suspect, Taylor, that the Iceman might be getting a little bit nervous seeing how hard these guys are racing around him. He could so easily get caught up in this.
Well, the good news is his teammate Landini is in front of him also. So I think Landini understands what's going on, and he might also try to back off a little bit, maybe even hand the position over to Eisler to help him get back up towards the front.
This is really the best excitement. Oh, and was that a mistake there from Landini through the corner of Renault? It's a repeat of last lap. Ellison not managing to try and keep ahead of him. Now heading down to the Audi S. Looks to the inside, brakes early again. Landini brakes too late. He takes off into the runoff. Oh, over under, and they clang doors. Landini getting roughed out of the way as Ellison pulls himself back into the position.
Yeah, there's really no out of bounds in the Audi S's. You can go below those curbings and make up for time on those drivers. So that was an excellent move that Ellison made. Might have been a little dirty for some viewers on that, but that was still a good pass that he made on Landini as Landini's coming back on him.
And Eisler is losing a position to Tononi, who goes to the inside down into Tarzan. Just set it up beautifully coming out of Lyondike, and Tononi gets himself back into 8th. These guys, no respect for the top drivers here in this series. They don't care who you are, as long as they are ahead of you.
Yeah, Tononi's putting on a good run right now. He's got his eyes set on Landini and really just showing that he is here to race, going toe-to-toe with Eisler and showing that I don't care if you're a points lead or anything, I'm still going to race you hard.
I'll keep an eye on this, but if we want to peek our cameras ahead for the curious, Perez still our leader, starting to look a lot like last week. He is now 4 seconds over Daniel Pinto, and Daniel has no response for his pace. Masiera currently holding third, about 2.3 back from Pinto. Let's take a look at Sebastian, the number 22. Sure, he'll be happy with this if he can hold this off. He's got 2.5 seconds back to Clank at the moment, but Clank's now free of all that battle, so you have to imagine that he's going to be running him down. But Aaron Thacker, I'm seeing, is having problems out of the Audi S, and he's a bit stuck because he's trying to let traffic by. He's tumbling down the order.
Yeah, he's off of the track right now.
What happened here is in a bit of a weird position. Ooh, this looks like driver error there on the replay. Here we see Thacker. That's coming out of Vodafone. And it's the exit of the Audi S. This is not something I expected on that corner. Drivers struggling to get the power down out of here, Taylor.
Sometimes that can be the case. When you're going down, you think you might have the corner. The car will sometimes wash up. Your tire gets into the gravel a little bit, and then you're off for the ride. So that can be a possibility of what can happen for these drivers when going through the Audi S's.
All right, we come back live. Let's take a look at Pittenger as
Eisler having some problems.
Oh, yeah, indeed he has. He's slipped down to 9th now.
He got tangled up with the rookie. He actually turns the rookie of Tononi into, looks like...
Oh, and they come together again, and the Audi S. Side-to-side contact, and that's brought Mark Feil. We saw it on screen. This is a nightmare scenario for Christian. Not only has he been sent backwards, he's been struggling to move up in positions. I almost wonder if he needs to come in, maybe get a little repairs, get himself out of all this traffic.
That would be a smart move. Go ahead and pit early, try to fix as much damage, and go ahead and get that pit stop out of the way. So Eisler might need to consider doing that to just get away from all this traffic. Tell you what,
Right.
Tononi just showing no remorse for any of these regulars up tonight.
Yeah. Well, he's making his stamp. He's not letting anybody bully him around. He's got himself into 8th. And his fellow newcomer, Brito, still within the top 5. He's been overtaken by Clank. Speaking of which, we were wondering if Clank could run down Maciera. It's now 1.5 seconds. That 337 is on the move. So we take a look at the blue and yellow machine. I think it's going to be a matter of time before he catches Maciera. The other half of the equation, though, is going to be passing him. That one is a lot harder.
It's true indeed. He had a good run through the Audi S's to set him up for Kumo and Lyondike, so he's really got to put the power down right now in order to catch up to Masseri. So Clank is just being really smooth right now, not pushing the car too much, but enough just to make that move forward onto Masseri.
Down in the mid-pack, since we haven't given them a whole lot of love, Justin Hall, Victor O'Brien in a bit of a tussle. This is for 18th position. Justin, the car ahead, the blue and yellow Ford GT. Victor O'Brien and the black and white Ferrari that you see as we ride the wire cam down the front stretch. O'Brien not going to be close enough coming up to Tarzan for now. Ooh, bit wide, though, at the apex for Justin Hall. Is going to allow O'Brien to catch up that little bit. Staying right within his tire tracks. Once again, a little high off that inside curbing for Justin Hall. Seems to be struggling to get that car down.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with some of the drivers, especially through the bank corners, that they're having a little trouble getting it down to where they need to hit the apex. So I don't know if it's a setup, we got a car off.
That was Cameron Barry. Oh, and the day gets worse for Cameron after his great run last week. That was driver error. Coming up to the very fast Sheavlock. Did he touch his wheels into the dirt on the entry, maybe? Yeah, I think he did. Watch the left-hand side. Yeah, just a little bit kicked up, you could see from that angle. And that's all it took, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. That's all it can really take. Just a touch of the gravel or the grass, and you are going for a ride. So unfortunate for Cameron Barry for what he's having to deal with tonight.
Oof, we might want to jump back up to the front of the field. Alexander Clank has now run down Maciera. So the battle is on for the podium positions. Remember, Clank started on the front row. Maciera started in 5th, currently sitting in 3rd. I'm sure he'd like to keep that, even though it's not a whole bunch of positions upwards. Have to say, oh, go ahead.
Good run for Clank and Maciera through Schlabach as they head now down into Renault and Vodafone. So this is going to be a good opportunity for Clank as he makes a good dive into Vodafone. So he's really trying to put the pressure down on Masseri.
I'm rather impressed with Alexander. He had that bad incident at the start where it set him backwards, and it's almost contrasting fortunes here. Clank has moved forward. He's looking at recovering from his mistake, and Eisler has done nothing but go backwards.
It must be the damage that Eisler has, because I'm looking at Clank's car, and it is pretty much clean for the most part. So it's got to be the damage that Eisler has on his car that's causing him to fall back so far.
Onto the front stretch. Clank looking a little bit too far back, and he didn't quite find that inside curb. That cost him an opportunity. Now about 5 car lengths back from Maciera. Nowhere near enough to try and send it in to Tarzan. Sets himself up. Maybe try to get himself in position later on in the lap. And we haven't talked about it at all yet. Now might be a good time, Taylor. 28 minutes left to go. We're within that pit window.
Yes, we are. So we might start seeing some drivers come down the pit road here in the next 5, maybe 6 minutes, maybe actually probably 10 minutes before some of these drivers might come down pit road.
And as we jump over to 10th place, Mark File and Cristobal Valenzuela in a nice little fight for this top 10 spot. Cristobal in the car behind with the blue on that Ferrari. And then the red Porsche is Mark File in the 777. File not afraid to get up on the inside curb of Marlboro, taking a bunch of it. Don't forget, just behind them, that is Michael Overbay catching these guys. Get flashes of him within the screen every once in a while. Oh, and Clank has gotten by Macieta. We missed the pass. This was, how recent was this? It was just a few corners ago, maybe about 50 seconds back through the Audi S. As we look for the replay, great stuff by Clank, setting himself up right here, as you see, coming out of Vodafone, a little wide from Macieta. Clank knew it, gets his nose to the inside down to the Audi S. Simply outbreaks him, Taylor.
Pretty much, that's where that passing opportunity was going to be tonight that we brought out. That is where definitely a textbook pass that Clank made.
And as we come back live, take a look at the gap. It is already nearly a second, so the 337 says, thank you, I'm gone. Next on his list is going to be Pinto. This one not too far up the way. 3.5 seconds is doable, but even beyond that, it's another 7 seconds to our leader. About 11 total from Clank to Perez. So that win is not looking likely for Clank this time around, unless Perez has problems. We've seen a number of drivers fall afoul of errors today, though, Taylor.
We have, and also we got to remember the fact that for these past few races, except at Phillip Island, lap traffic has caused major issues for our leaders. So we got to throw that factor in for tonight's race as well.
Is Lady Luck going to turn her back on Perez after handing him the lead here early on? We'll see. Do you believe in karma right now? Not so much. Perez is going to easily lap Gary Schilling. Remember the issues that we saw with Thacker a bit ago? He's in a battle with Gore. This is for 22nd position, and Thacker just got by Tyler Gore. I believe that was in Sheavlock. I think we got a replay spooled up for this. Remember, this is a ride back forward for Thacker. No, it looks like it was into Vodafone, actually. Here we go. This is Marlboro riding up to the back of Gore. Almost wonder if Gore just hands this over, Taylor. I'm watching on my screen. Yeah, watch him swing to the outside here. What do you think?
It might be. He might realize that Thacker has a little bit of a faster car, doesn't want to really get into a major battle where it might cause more damage. So this might have been an opportunity like, you're faster, I'm letting you go.
What if we could jump up to 13th spot? Got a bit of a train going on behind Richie Pittenger, Pete Mabroten, and Takeshi Kita. We were wondering about Kita being able to run forward. Well, it looks like it's a lot harder. He's still sitting in 15th, having started in 16th. But side-by-side action right in front of him. Mabroten looking around the outside of Pittenger, down into the Audi S. If he can hold onto it, he'll have the inside of the next part of the corner. Just being given enough room by Pittenger, but denied anyways. Beautiful driving by both drivers.
Yeah, Mabroten tried to use that bottom and go as low as he can through that corner of the Audi S's, and that's what he tried to do, but he just did not have enough power down as they come out the Lions Act and gets into the grass.
Scary moment for Mabroten. Is going to hand it over to Kita. He is now up to 14th. Oof. Why don't we watch from on board on Mabroten, because that looked like a ride. Here we go, Taylor. What is going through your mind when this happens on this track here, Taylor?
when you're going off-roading on a track where you're not supposed to go off-road, you are definitely holding your breath, trying to make sure to just get that car back onto the pavement. So definitely an excellent drive by Mabroten. Just keep calm, get back on the track, and get back in rhythm.
We've had the first of our takers of what I believe should be scheduled stops. The number 777 of Mark Feil is in and out. He returns in 23rd position. Surprised, actually, that's the only car we've seen take their scheduled stop. Gary Schilling has been in and out, but I believe, yeah, that was 10 laps ago, so that was Gary just dealing with some damage from early on, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye, see if any of these other drivers who come out, who are involved in that wreck, might come back out to try to gain points, but so far only one driver that came out. That was Gary Schillings with the damage he had.
But despite all of the excitement we saw, we only have 2 DNFs out of 29 cars. That's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all, especially for the carnage that happened on the lap 1. So the only 2 that have DNF'd is Labato and Duchesne. So excellent work for some of these pit crews to get the cars fixed and back out on track.
And Mabroten, remember, after his mistake, was trying to get back on Kita. And he's got it down into Tarzan. A good run out of the corner that he goofed up before. He's going to hand it back. I'm kind of wondering if the fact that we're not seeing early stops maybe pays service to the fact that it is as hard to pass here as we've been talking about, Taylor, because it seems like nobody's willing to risk it.
No, it's very, very odd that some of these drivers have not pitted yet, and like you were saying, this is true. It's due to the fact that it's very difficult to pass. There's only 1 or 2 really good passing opportunities to where you can make a clean pass, unless someone just gives it to you. But for the most part, everyone's just waiting pretty much till the last minute to get down on pit road.
As we ride on board with Mabroten, we see the very bright and confusing paint scheme of Richie Pittenger trying to dazzle his way through the field, but he's got to deal with that number 15 stalking him now. Certainly did not. Oh, I think he went a little deep though into the Audi S, did Mabroten, as we rode on the nose of him. That's going to lose him just a little bit of time, but Mabroten did not let that incident faze him at all. He has gotten back on the horse in a hurry.
He has. He's really been able to put the hammer down as they go through Lion Dyke down the tunnel west corner. He has got his eyes set on Pittenger in that, I would like to just call it a subway graffiti car, pretty much almost, with all the paint and color on there. But hey, you got to express yourself one way or another with this car.
Oh, and we got another taker for a pit stop. Justin Hall navigates his way through that treacherous chicane on the entry to the pits. He's still working with his damaged rear wing that you can see on that Ford GT. So glad we're seeing a few more Ford GTs than we used to in this series. We've got Hall being one of them. Aaron Thacker is another one of those drivers. We had one in Danny Duchesne, but he is unfortunately DNF'd.
Yeah, I'm surprised not a lot of people. I mean, I understand the new Porsche is a very big, appealing car to drive, and of course it is Porsche, and of course Ferrari is another big name, but the Ford GT is a very fun car to drive on the iRacing service, so it is a surprise that we don't see a lot of them. I know they were popular when they first came out, but it seems like with some cars, they just fade away after X period of time.
Oh, let's go back to Aaron Thacker up in 19th. I know we were watching a bit of Mark Feil there, but O'Brien and Thacker duking it out, and Thacker is going to come out ahead to get 19th position. Next on his list, you can see right there ahead is Eric Luke. Starting to get to the tail end of that pit stop window now. Our highest pitter still Mark Feil. Ooh, a good run down the main straight for Aaron Thacker. He's in the slipstream. Eric Luke looking like a bit of a sitting duck. He doesn't even bother to defend down into Tarzan. Can't get to the apex with Thacker there. Easy pickings for Aaron as he moves up 2 positions in 1 lap.
Yeah, surprisingly, that Tunnel West Straight is an excellent opportunity to set up for using the draft. It's very difficult, though, to set up that pass to Tarzan if you're not careful and if people don't give you enough room. So that was a really good pass that Thacker made.
O'Brien, who was just overtaken by Thacker, has pitted. Understand that Vargas also looking for his stall. He's trundling down the pit lane. O'Brien has already completed his stop. Now, we might want to watch the leader, see when Perez pits. He's currently got a gap of about 9 seconds over Pinto. He's very, very safe at the moment. But we usually expect about 30 minutes, the max that you can go in these cars in this series, Taylor. So he's getting to the edge of it here. He's not going to have too many more laps before he's got to come in, I would think.
Yeah, Thomas Ellison out of the top 6 was the first car to blink on that matter. He just is now coming off pit road, so it's not going to be much longer before we see somebody pit.
Clank has had a big problem. He's dropped multiple positions. This happened just about 50 seconds ago into Hugenholtz. I think he managed to get away without hitting anything. Oh, that ruins the great recovery that we were watching from the Virginia's driver. Let's see if we've got the replay here. Here it comes. It'll be into Hugenholtz out of Gerlach. One of those tricky blind right-handers. I wonder if that's what put him off with his crest here. Wow. That was almost a Ken Block-esque drift, just putting the rear bumper within inches of those tires there, Taylor.
That was very good driving, and that's really what happens when you go through that uphill section. It's so difficult to set up to get that line right through that corner. Otherwise, you're going to just hit the curb, hit the gravel and grass, and it'll send you flying into one of these walls. So excellent job by Alexander Clank to get through there unscathed almost.
There's very little room to... there's no runoff, effectively. It's almost like a street course there in Hugenholtz with the tires right there at the edge of the track. If we look at Eisler, now we haven't checked in on him. He's up to 6th, our pole sitter.
Yeah, he's been making a good comeback so far, so Eisler might not be done with it yet. He's going to try and maybe squeeze a top 5 out of it before the night's done.
Well, I think he's discovering what others have discovered. It's going to be more about him just keeping it on the track as others around him fall away. He obviously gained that position over the car of Clank. In fact, Clank's the one behind him now. So that'll be interesting if these two start battling. But Eisler dealing with lap traffic, really bad lap traffic. That was Gary Schilling just being caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. Clank now in it. Quite close enough to make an attack down to the Audi S. For those wondering and keeping score, our highest pitter at the moment is in 14th. That's Thomas Ellison. Leader goes around yet one more lap. There we see Perez. I said at the top of the broadcast in my intro, it's 2-3. Perez having won at Spa and having won at Phillip Island. Can he add over here at Zandvoort in the Netherlands to the mix? Oh, and you've spotted some action up at the top here.
Yep, Alexander Clank decided to come down pit road now, so he had that opportunity to come down. Let's see what he can do with some fuel in his car and a little bit of weight.
And he's behind Ellison. So his teammate has wound up in front of him through the pit stops. I have to say that I think that one goes to blame on Alexander's spin.
Most definitely. That's what that mistake cost him. So unfortunate for Clank. So let's see what he can do in recovery mode now.
That keeps Ellison as our top pitter for the moment. Where is our leader? He's coming up to the pit entry now. Let's see if he calls enough or if his fuel does. And indeed, He swings into the pit lane, gets onto the binders. Nice job by Ben Perez getting it down to pit lane speed. Is he followed by Pinto? Yes, he is. I think we found the limit of the fuel tank.
Yeah, it certainly is. As these drivers, Masseri is now coming in now. So this is the lap where we will see our front runners come in. Burritos coming in. So, yep, this is the time for our drivers to pit. Everyone coming down pit road.
Everybody running their car dry, not wanting to deal with traffic.
Eisler had a moment right there, almost hitting the pit wall coming down. Just got it below pit road speed, so.
I think we caught someone going off. Ooh, Gary Schilling, the lapped car. What exactly? I cannot tell what in the world. You know what? This is, I'm hoping he wasn't looking at his cell phone here, but as we watch Gary Schilling, think maybe he was fiddling with some settings on his car here.
That's what it looked like. He just went down to the bottom of the track on the front straightaway and just hit the wall.
Let's come back live. Pinto back out on the track. We'll, go ahead.
Looking at the times now, you know, Pinto lost a lot of time after that pit stop, so I wonder if Pinto decided to do a strategy call with some fresh tires or not, because he is now 10 seconds back compared to earlier.
As we look at Pinto, yeah, that just a little bit of time lost. Almost looks like the nail in the coffin. The race is not over till that checkered flag flies, though, so we can't really hand the champagne over to Perez quite yet. But he has certainly been in control. One driver I want to watch out for, though, Thomas Ellison, about 4.5 seconds back from Massiera. Now, Massiera looking pretty good right now with that third place, but a bit of a mistake or a bit of traffic, this could put Thomas, who started in 12th, mind you, up to a podium spot. He's our Aaron Thacker of this week.
Yes, he is. He's been running a really good race, most likely staying out of trouble as he's down in the P4, so he could definitely, if something happens to Masseri, which Masseri's been pretty much clean throughout the majority of this race as well, we could be looking at Thomas Ellison in the podium.
We were talking about Clank being close to Eisler. He has not let him get away. And now they're starting to gain on newcomer Facundo Britos, the number 16, just up the road by a little over a second.
Yeah, I've been watching Britos throughout the race, and he has been doing an excellent job for this rookie. Just being very smooth, staying out of trouble. Just beautiful run he's been putting up in a good top 5 finish for the rookie. So very good, commendable job for Britos.
Clank really starting to put the pressure on to Eisler now. And this is very similar to what we saw last week at Phillip Island. Clank followed the Iceman around quite a while until eventually he was able to sneak by, and then he left him in the dust. This is later in the race than it was back at the Australian track, but even still, this could be causing the 727 driver to sweat a little bit.
Yes, indeed. So let's see. And plus also, with Eisler having that damage, that's going to be a big disadvantage for him. So Eisler's definitely going to have to do some mirror driving, especially down the tunnel straight.
Ooh, this is a great position for Clank to be in. He is well within the slipstream. Eisler knows it. He goes all the way down to the inside, covers him off. Clank looking to go the long way around of Tarzan. Can he use the banking to get it done? Almost. This is where they were at the start of the race, where they came together and what sent them off. Except this time they managed to navigate up to Gerlach successfully. And Clank moves himself into 6th.
Beautiful pass that Clank put on Eisler. Now, that was just an excellent run. Good driving by both drivers. Not to take each other out, but still race hard. So Clank's got his eyes set on Britos.
One of my favorite stories about those types of moves here at Zandvoort, Taylor, is Mario Andretti was racing against James Hunt, and he overtook Hunt around the outside of Tarzan. And James was shocked and went to him after the race and said, "We don't do that sort of stuff around here. That's dangerous." And Mario's retort came back, "Where I'm from, we pass wherever the hell we want."
That's typical Mario for you.
As we ride on board, looking back at Clank. He's disposed of Eisler. Now he wants Fasundo.
Let's see what the rookie can do against the veteran of Clank. Oh, as Britos makes a mistake. There it goes. Clank by.
1 spot lost, 2 spots lost, and just like that, I think the number 16 has learned a hard lesson on just how narrow a line you have to run to be up at the top of this series. It might be through 3 because Landini looking down to the inside. Oh, and they come together.
Contact.
It tips him around into the gravel. Fasundo not having a good time right now.
What do you think, Joe? Do you think that's a commentator's curse right there for him?
I don't know if that counts as commentator's curse.
Well, we were talking so good about how well Britos was doing.
Yeah, I guess earlier on. Well, this demotes him to 9th, unfortunately. But, you know, sometimes you got to take a bit of the school of hard knocks before you earn your way to the top. And I think this is what Britos is discovering today. Oh, Mabroten and Overbay, a little bit of action themselves. Boy, these banked corners really allowing lots of great side-by-side racing.
Sure is. Broten is able to get by. Those bankings, it's very good to get that good run, even on the outside of those bank corners. So it's really fun to watch and really fun to really just make a pass on the outside. It makes you feel good, like, hey, I can do that. Put the car anywhere and go.
You know, we've been watching the 337's progress. Clank now up to a top 5. His teammate is up next ahead of him, only 1.3 seconds, so definitely not out of the question. I'm wondering if we'll see Ellison maybe let him through a little easier than we've seen some of these other drivers, because Clank's been on a good run. He missed a couple of the first races, but that doesn't mean he's fully out of this championship.
I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ellison might be that good teammate to Clank, but think about it. Ellison's in a very good spot inside the top 5. If I was Ellison, I would also want to make sure I put on a good show for my team owner and make sure I finish well.
We're going to find out soon, because that gap just went down about 4/10 in this half a lap. Clank is on the go. Fortunately for Alexander, his climb back forward might halt that 4th place, because we have 5 minutes left, and it's about 5 seconds up from Ellison to the podium for Masiera. Overbay's been getting some love from us, but tell you what, he's not too far away from both Mabroten and Pittenger. Mabroten is pulling away, we should mention, and Pittenger, the opposite, he's coming forward towards him.
Yeah, Pittenger's been doing real good tonight in that Porsche, staying inside around the top 15 for most of it, but just running real smooth lines, and looks like if he can able to get up to Overbay, he might be able to steal away that 11th position.
I'm sure he'd love that. Pittenger started this race 18th. He's sitting in 12th at the moment. 11th would be one more feather in his cap. Oh man, Clank is now on the back of Ellison. The 027 has to start worrying a little bit more. You talked about mirror driving before. Well, I think that blue and white machine has a mirror full, or excuse me, blue and yellow machine has a mirror full of blue and yellow.
Yeah, Clank has a good run coming out as they head to Schleich. So Clank is going to really have to put the hammer down and make sure to have as much momentum out of Schlabach as he gets right. Oh no!
Clank off into the tires. He gets the Armco just barely, tries to back it back down and get going, but more cars are going by. We've got the replay. We're going to pull it up. He had a look. He thought about it, was a little bit too far outside, too hot into the corner, into Sheevlock. That Porsche, once it got loose, there was just no saving it.
No, not at all. He just waited too late to put the brakes on it, because he's got to definitely hustle now, and it looks like it's going to be outside the top 10 for Clank.
Well, he's in 7th now, so I think he still has a top 10 for us, but how about Eisler, now up to a top 5? Still got to be a little bit disappointing having put it on the pole and knowing that his main rival is now going to overtake him in the points.
Hey, but damage control. Eisler having a very difficult, bad start pretty much almost for him, but is still able to come home in the top 5. I would consider that a win for me if I was Eisler.
Ooh, I highly doubt he'll consider this one a win. I think, especially having taken 3 wins in the first 4, going back-to-back, not being able to best Perez, especially when he was faster in qualifying, this is going to be a little bit of a mental setback, I would think, for the Hispano-American driver. Now down to 2.5 minutes left to go. Where is our leader? Perez? Oh, it's going to be tight on if he gets the white flag or not. And that's one of the things with these timed races these drivers need to think about, Taylor, is how much fuel do you put in, especially if you're trying to cut it oh so tight.
Yeah, these drivers need to make sure they put enough fuel in to where, 1, they can get on the track quickly, and 2, make sure they finish the race. I think I remember correctly, one driver actually ran out of fuel at Phillip Island last week due to the fact they didn't put enough fuel in the car. So I'm pretty sure some of these drivers are keeping that in the back of their mind, that they need to put the right exact amount.
And they are going to get one more lap after this one. There's plenty of time at the line. You know, we haven't given much love at all to the 969, that Pinto of, or that, excuse me, mine was on cars, that Porsche of Pinto has just been quietly running his race. I'm sure he wanted to win, but this is definitely an improvement for Daniel. Going to be on the podium yet again and proving that he's not out of this championship yet, even though he hasn't taken a win.
I've been watching Massieri. Massieri's been doing really good tonight, running inside that top 4, top 3. He's looking to get a good podium now, as if he can just keep his nose clean for these final few laps. So as he's coming up on some lap traffic, but Massieri just doing really, really good job.
Having to deal with a little bit of lap traffic, making life difficult for him, unfortunately. We might need to go up to 4th place because Ellison is not done with this race. He's got Eisler, who's hunted him down very, very quickly. I want to say this was about 0.8 of a second in less than a lap. The 727 is hungry. Through the Audi S, he's not going to get very many opportunities, and I don't think it's a long enough run to the line for Eisler to be able to try and snipe him out of the last corner here.
No, not Eisler does not close enough to get through Lyondike, so hopefully he might be able to pull a little bit of a draft, but hopefully Ellison will be smart and try to break the draft as best he can. So
yeah, he's definitely
this is the moment.
Enough. I'm more worried about not necessarily this lap, but the next one, if he gets close enough but has to try and gun him down before they get to the checkered flag. I'm keeping an eye on the leader, so don't worry, we will jump over to Perez. Ooh, getting awful close. Eisler pressurizing Ellison now. Could we see a move down into the Audi S potentially? Up into Sheavlock, still a little bit too far back. He's got to get closer than that to make a move. Up towards Marlboro as we ride on board with Eisler. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut away because Ben Perez, out of the Audi S himself, has 2 corners to go. It's now going to be tied up on wins. Ben Perez struggled at the start of the season. He's turned things around. The 2-time champion is going to take his 3rd win of the season here at Zandvoort. Pinto with a well-earned second place, racking up yet more points and yet another podium on his resume. Same with the car behind him, Sebastian Maciera, completing our podium. Let's jump back to our battle for fourth place, because Thomas Ellison has less than half a second ahead of Eisler, but he's just a little bit too little, too late. Ellison for fourth, Eisler with the top 5. Not many battles behind that. Clank trying to catch Landini, but can't do it. Britos, remember, he's regretting his mistake. Is going to wind up finishing 9th after starting in 6th. Could be looking at a podium earlier on in the race. This is Overbay. Bit of a battle with Pittenger. And across the line, going to be Overbay, who bests him for that 11th spot, which is exactly where he started. So, but Pittenger gaining 6 positions. Got to be happy with that. Quite a few cars on the lead lap here, but not many battles yet left. Gary Schilling coming around. Eric Luke's going to be the last one to cross the line. So, as Steve Myers and Junior look on and watch the rest of the cars cycle through, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Circuit Zandvoort here in the Netherlands. We just watched round 6 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series. This race, of course, brought to you by Apex Button Box. If you would like to check out some of their button boxes for all of your sim racing needs, we have a link to their Facebook in the description. It is simply /Apex Button Box. But after all is said and done, Certainly got some excitement here today, especially with some top drivers making mistakes. One who didn't was Ben Perez, who now ties up the wins and puts himself back into the lead in the points. He bests Daniel Pinto, who takes the second place, but 14 seconds back. Just did not have the pace for Perez. Sebastian Maciera, didn't get to see a whole lot of him battling, but he still took a podium as well. Thomas Ellison certainly was sweating bullets at the end. There was 0.6 of a second at the line for his fourth, back to fifth. Christian Eisler, who started on the pole, but just could not keep it together. Unfortunately, both an incident on the first lap and then later incidents later in the race caused him to not get the finish that he wanted. Juan Landini takes a 6 behind him with Alexander Klank. The driver that Eisler tangled with finishes in 7th. Juan Tononi is going to take 8th with Facundo Britos, newcomer. Both of these drivers, Tononi and Britos, running their first race here in the series. Britos takes 9th, and Pete LeBroten gets a well-earned top 10. Taylor?
Finishing in the 11th position is going to be Michael Overbay, followed by Richie Pettinger. Takesha Kita in 13th position, followed by Mark Pfeil. Matthew Farley will finish in the 15th position, followed by Andrew Fawcett in 16th. Aaron Thacker with a difficult run tonight in 17th position. 18th will be Justin Hall, 19th Cameron Berry, and 20th is Cristobal Venezuela.
In 21st, it was Eric Luke. He's followed by Victor O'Brien in 22nd, Lucio Vargas in 23rd. Tyler Gore takes a 24th. He had a bit of side-by-side banging today. He was followed by Gary Schilling, who I believe was our last car to take the checkered flag there in 25th. Sean Kenning finishes 26th, 9 laps down. Hugo Galaz, bad first lap for him. Means he only is able to get 14 laps in. 27th is his best. Danny Duchesne and Moises Lobato round out our field. With that, we've got Ben Perez waiting to talk to us after his 3rd win of the season. Ben, congratulations. Obviously, you didn't have much excitement for the rest of the race, but boy, that first lap had to be an eye-opener.
Oh, yeah. That first lap was quite interesting. I feel like I got a little bit of Christian's luck this time around because I don't feel like I had the pace this week, which is really unfortunate because I was quite looking forward to this track. It's close to one of my favorite tracks, but I couldn't figure the setup out. I mean, the car just felt really awful after a couple laps. It would feel fine on the first lap or two, but then after that, the tires would just, I don't know, they would just melt and the car just felt awful. But I guess I got a little bit lucky, and a win's a win, so I'll take it.
Exactly. And you answered what my next question was going to be, is whether or not you were relieved at the start, because it seemed like they were faster than you. But you mentioned the tires. One thing that we talked about a bit was that there's 2 very long, fast right-handers. Was it unbalancing the car at all, the fact that you were putting such a load on the left-hand side of the car each lap?
I think it definitely was. My problem is that I don't know how to make asymmetric setups. So I had to, I just ran all 4 tire pressures equal because unfortunately my knowledge doesn't extend to asymmetrical setups. So I think the left-hand side tires definitely took more of a beating than the right side ones.
That's interesting to hear, and certainly seemed to catch a few drivers out, as we saw plenty of speeds out there today. Speaking of which, at a track where it's very twisty and very narrow, how was traffic out there today? That was what cost you a number of wins, but today it did not.
Traffic was not bad today, actually. I think everyone's a little scared after Watkins Glen and also Mosport, so I think people are being a little nicer than they usually would. So for me, traffic was fine. There was, I think, one instance, I can't remember with who, that he held me up a tiny bit, but I mean, I had a gap by then, so it was no problem.
Well, again, congratulations. This will put you back into the points lead and tie you on wins with your main rival, Eisler. We hope to see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
That was Ben Perez, our winner out there today. Even though he started the car in 3rd place, he himself admits a little bit of luck helped him up to the front. Let's go to Taylor Burris, who has caught up with 2nd place behind him, Daniel Pinto.
Yes, we're here with Daniel Pinto. And Daniel, other than that interesting and exciting start, it's been a quiet night for you. Tell us what your car felt like tonight.
Well, if you really want to know, my car felt awful. Really awful. I had no front grip at all if I wanted to keep tires, so I didn't have much time to practice. I only practiced like a bit yesterday and another bit uh, today, as I've been sick for the last week and a half, maybe. And well, I couldn't find the exact setup for this track, so I tried yesterday with a more aggressive setup, and the tires were completely shot at third lap, like, well, not even on third lap. And today I tried to get a setup to save a little bit more tires, so I could manage my way around the track until the end with, well, little to no issues. I managed that, but I knew right about from the start that I had no pace for Ben or Christian or Alexander, so I just got lucky there.
I hear you. What was the part that was most difficult for you for the setups? Curious to know about that.
Well, it was to manage to get the car to turn into the corner without dragging the front. Maybe that was my major issue on that. When I managed that, I saw that the tires were shot after 2 or 3 laps, so I had to go back and redo the setup to safer setup, so I could have tires at the end. That won't win me races, but at a track like this, well, it helps to finish, and it really did today, as my pace was not good and I still managed to finish second, so I'll take it. It's not even one track that I'm used running, so, well, it's still a podium.
Yeah, excellent run, and a podium's a podium. That's a very good run that you had today, Daniel, so congratulations on finishing P2.
Thank you.
And I believe Joe has caught up with Tom Ellison by the looks of it.
Indeed, 4th place finisher. And Thomas, you need to get out a handkerchief to wipe your brow after you cross the finish line, because, man, you were under some serious pressure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, things were a little bit sweaty over here, but Christian was putting me under a lot of pressure at the end. He's a quick guy, obviously. We've all seen his results in the season so far, and I was just trying to hang on ahead of him.
Now, you qualified in 12th, and obviously you climbed quite a ways. Was it a case of you didn't qualify as well as you thought, or you just raced way better than you thought?
I had a little bit of time in qualifying. I think I was probably 4 or 5 tenths off where I was hoping to have been, which would have put me a couple of places up, but frankly in the race I just got a little bit lucky with some incidents ahead of me, and was able to find a little bit more race pace on the setup that I had.
One thing we were wondering about as well is it was your teammate Clank coming up behind you late in the race as well, possibly looking to climb up. If he had caught you, would you have given him an easy time being a teammate to allow him to try and get to the podium, or was it gloves off between you two?
He and I have always had a history of some close battles when we found ourselves on the track. Frankly, I think I would have, had he made a move, I would have let him go more easily than anybody else. That's mainly because I could see Christian behind us both catching us, and I knew that if I put up a fight with Clank, it was likely that Christian would catch me as well before the flag, and I'd lose 2 spots rather than 1. In the end, sadly, unfortunately, Clank took a trip across the gravel, and it was a moot point. But I was thinking for the team.
Oh, interesting answer to the question, but very smart driving, very great driving out there, fast enough to get you a 4th. Congratulations, and hope to get to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
That was Tom Ellison, 4th place in the 027 out there today. And with that, we are going to close up here with one last big mention and thank you to Apex Button Boxes for helping sponsor and bring this race to air. Again, if you would like a button box made by Apex Button Boxes, we have a link in our description here on YouTube. Just scroll on down. I highly, highly recommend it if you're running out of buttons on your wheels. I know I certainly am, so would like to try and get myself one of those very soon. Big thank you to PRL for coming back and bringing the American iRacing Tuesday series on to the Global SimRacing Channel for another season. We've got the whole season this time. Now that is going to be fun to cover. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go out to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. And from what I understand, June has just released a new single on her Patreon. So if you're interested in checking that out, she's just posted that up, I believe, today. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, we're going to Italy. Still staying here in Europe. That'll be at Imola on Tuesday, July 31st at 9 p.m. Eastern to close out the month. The last one of the month here on GSRC. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.